Hi, my name is Dr. Maureen O'Neill, and I'm going to show you in this particular video exactly from our workshop how we actually import and sort our literature and prepare your EndNote references to bring and export from your EndNote library and import into your NVivo file. So let me share my screen, and as you can see, you'll be able to see that I have an EndNote library here. And the EndNote library is comprised of our data set. And as you can see, I've just got a 21 sample here of different types of references, articles, etc. that I've gone and looked at for this particular topic of school-age athletes and the issues that they face with balancing sport and training at school. So as you can see, all of these particular articles are attached, and you've got to make sure that you've previewed in your EndNote library, that you've gone through and that you've actually attached them so that you can see the reference and the way that you've actually put it in and actually put certain characteristics about this particular article, which was taken from a newspaper, as you can see, and how you've classified it, because that's very important, because once it's imported into EndNote, you've actually got some data that it can attach to a classification sheet. And that's the important thing about using your EndNote library so sensibly, that you can actually bring it in and it does the work for you in EndNote, from EndNote to NVivo. And it allows you to create that classification. Of course, you can bring your PDFs in one by one, but you have to go into each and every one of them and give them an attribute and a characteristic to build up on and add it to a classification sheet. And as you can see, we've attached it. We can attach more, but we've attached this particular article and we've previewed it. And when we've previewed it, it's exactly what we should be seeing, how it was retrieved, etc. So the reference and anything that I wanted to say about it, keywords will come across to the classification, and then the abstract that I was thinking that this is what this article is about. And any notes that you make on it will actually go into your memos once you actually bring it over into your NVivo. Have your NVivo file open. As you can see, I've got the one from our workshop USB file opened already, but you can open up your own project. So have your NVivo file open up, go to the EndNote. The most important thing is, as you can see over here on the right hand side, I can actually start cleaning my library before I take it over to NVivo, or I can bring all of the references, as you can see in front of you, over, and then once I'm in NVivo, I can actually sort my literature from there. So as you can see from this original view, I can actually sort it right here in EndNote to the various keywords or the themes that I actually am trying to review for my thematic analysis in my literature review or systematic review. So here I've just created from that particular list 4 groups. But if we go back to all my references, I'm thinking today I'm actually going to bring all of them over at the one time. You simply copy the whole list. So start with the first one, highlight and shift down to the bottom one. You go up to File. You go down to Export. Now, once you're in Export, you want to actually put it in a spot that you can actually find it again when you bring it up in NVivo. So I normally have it on the desktop. Okay, I know it's my school-age athletes file. I leave it at that. I could change it if I was bringing over just individual groups of bullying. I could change it to bullying if I wanted to. But today, as I said, I'm bringing the whole library over. I'm going to actually have to bring it over as a .xml, because that's the only way that it can be imported compatibly into NVivo. And I usually write in APA 6, so I'm going to start making sure that it's all recognising my APA 6. You can have a drop down there of various styles, but I usually set it there. And then I save it. Now, once I've done that, and I know that everything's been attached, etc., I open up my NVivo library. I go to the sources. Remember, we had this internal section here, and I actually go up to my data tab, click into my data tab. I drop down from other sources and I click on from EndNote library. As you can see, I've been over to my desktop before and I can actually see that the XML document is sitting right there called School Age Athletes. I am going to actually open it in EndNote as .xml. So I'm actually going to open it. Once I do that, you'll get this little drop-down box here. It's actually asking you to name your sources by whatever title. Either you want individual authors or years, but I normally just leave it as an overall category of title. I'm not bringing in one, so I'm going to drop down and bring in by different classification based on the record type. In other words, whatever I've classified it in EndNote as a book, peer-reviewed article, newspaper article, etc., it will then recognise it in EndNote as such. So that's an important drop-down to bring down. You can either create them in your internals or create them in your externals, but as you can see, I'm doing internals, and then I simply import. You should get it phasing up over here. So once it actually starts recognising those imported sources, it starts creating records for them. And as you can see, it's phasing in. It's got a few to come in. If you did it by, for example, the created groups in EndNote, it wouldn't take as long to phase in, as you can see here. It's actually bringing it over quite quickly, which is good. Only a few more sources to come. And you can actually track its record by seeing the bar down here on the left-hand side. So it's coming over. We've only got one more to bring in. And it should be doing the job. As you can see, I've already set up my literature folder so that once I have all of my sources in, it's actually going to make sure that I can then sort, as you can see. And there we go. Now, as you can see, each one has been brought over here into my internal sources. I can actually change the view if I want to actually reduce down these two columns so that I can actually change it to only see what I want to see about the nodes and the references. However, today I can see that it's brought in all of my articles that I've actually asked it to do. And if I really wanted to start sorting, I could go into my literature folder, maybe bullying, and as I've already done that from internals, I've already started seeing which ones need to go into bullying, which were these ones that I classified, and ones that I needed to put into duality. I've still got them all sitting in my internals, but I'm sifting them and sorting them. Don't forget, these all have to be coded next. However, until we get to there, let's have a look what it's brought in classifications for us. If we go to classifications, you can now see that they were created on this particular date, and you can see that whatever we classified them in EndNote, they actually came in here in the classification as a book. So if I go right-click, I can either open the classification sheet and I can actually pull that across. And I can actually see exactly the authors that I brought in these particular books. And if I go across, you'll see that it actually is, it's assigned where the published price. So everything that I put on the EndNote, so I'm really going to be very meticulous there. I've actually can pick it up here on the classification sheet, so where it was published, etc. Then if I brought in keywords, I can actually go down to keywords, right-click, visualize, and chart the sources by the attribute value. And I can actually see out of those particular books which ones had those particular, there's a few books that I didn't assign. However, there was sport participation, and I can, all of this is live data, but if I summarize, I can see exactly sport participation. I can click in and see and open that, and it brings up, find the results of the actual, exactly the articles that I was looking at for those ones. So it is quite good in that sense. If I go back into classifications, you'll see. So if I keep on dropping down, you can see that it's highlighted all the different classifications that I've put into my EndNote. Then if I go over to my memos, and I'll just go back into sources, you'll see that anything that I made a memo on here, you'll be able to see that I actually, anything that was written as a memo in my EndNote, Indigenous Leadership Programs, for example, this was written, it actually brings it over into the memo. So it's actually starting a little note for me on those particular literature, as you can see there. So I've checked that they've brought it all in, and now all I need to do is to go and start, as I've seen here, open up my PDF that's been brought in. As you can see, it's all been brought in quite nicely. I can have my view up. I can put my coding stripes on to start coding, and my highlights so that I know exactly where I'm going to, and I can start going over if that's if I think that it's something about bullying, don't be afraid to tell someone. I can actually start code the selection, see if I've got an existing code already for bullying, which I have, tick it, and then go straight on to coding. And that's how we start that. So thank you for listening. I just thought that if we had a look at those particular circumstances, the most important thing is to have, as I said, your EndNote library already meticulously set up, and making sure that whatever you've highlighted in your EndNote library, such as whatever the classification of your particular reference is, it must be accurately inputted so that it will come into EndNote correctly. Thank you very much.